Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cup of Tea. And this episode is the director Zoom call. I want to thank everyone here for being with me today. I'm so grateful that I've got these lovely, amazing people, Jenna, Kaine, Grant, and Alistair on with me. There's this, I don't know, there's almost a mystique around directors. You know, some people are not exactly sure what they do, how they operate, what their exact role is in post-production, pre-production, on set. You know, there is a certain mystique around them. And I really wanted to really pick the brains of you guys today, all in one go, so we could really see what you guys relate to, what you guys contrast with, similar ideas, different ideas. And I think that'll just be so interesting for anyone watching. So before I get into it, I've got a lot of questions to ask you guys, and we're going to go deep today. You don't come on the Cup of Tea show and not go deep. We're going deep today. As Ali knows, he's a second time on here now. So yeah, I just want to... just a very brief introduction, guys, of a little bit about you guys before we get into questions. Kaine, if you just want to kick us off there, please. Just a little introduction so that people can know a little bit about your background.
Yeah, my name's Kaine. I'm a writer, director, and award-winning producer. My last short got picked up by Shorts TV. My current short is hopefully going to do an international festival circuit run. And I've just started writing my first feature as well.
Amazing, amazing. Grant?
Hey, I'm, I suppose I was just say carte blanche filmmaker, but I do directing, writing and producing everything. That's the grind, isn't it? But I've done music videos, commercials and short films and web series. And yeah, I'm really focused on one project at the minute, which is called Ecstasy. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing. You do everything. Car mechanic, doctor, lawyer, filmmaker, everything. Amazing. Thank you. Jenna.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenna. I'm the director behind the peer drama feature The Golden Age, which opened the London Independent Film Festival in March and was awarded Best Female Director Feature Film. And yeah, we're really excited about the film being presented on Cannes Market. I also worked for Cannes series with the team since first edition, and I'm the director of the Paris International Film Festival.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Jenna. Alistair.
Yeah, I'm Alistair. I'm 23-year-old writer-director. I used to study dentistry, but I quit to make films, mainly short films to start with. We did a 60-minute zero-budget film, which we screened in Westminster, which was an amazing experience. Very pandemonium feel to it, and we're moving on to a short film at the moment, and I've got a feature film that I'm developing as well. So
yes, you
exciting
do.
creative times.
Pandemonium feel. I like that. I like. You were planning to say that, weren't you? It has a pandemonium feel. That's fantastic. Well, thank you all. I just want to quickly say thank you all again for joining me on this call. I really appreciate it, and I know the viewers will as well. And at the very end of this call, guys, I want everyone to stay tuned in, because at the very end of this call, we're going to do sort of a call to collaboration. They're all going to talk about what their next steps are as a director, as a creative, and if they want to collaborate or they want to invite you to one of their projects, whatever it is. So please do stay tuned, guys. Jenna, I want to kick this off with you, actually, because you look the most nervous. So no, I'm joking.
Thank you. No, it's because I'm a female.
Yeah. Ladies first. Jenna, obviously the relationship between an actor and a director is monumental. It's so important. Offset, onset, in the preparation, while you're on set, there's so many things to think about. I'm wondering if you could shed any light actually on your specific process of sort of evoking certain feelings and emotions, these complex emotions out of your actors to get to this specific vision that you like, or that you envision, sorry. Because I know, for example, when I've done a couple of films and there's times, and Ali can attest to this, there's been times where I've been given one simple direction and it's changed the whole course of my feeling and emotion for that specific performance. So I'm wondering, maybe you could even give us an example of a time where an actor was doing something, it wasn't exactly right, and you sort of put them in the right direction, and how you came to that conclusion.
Oh, thank you so much for asking about that, because I really care a lot about the acting in the film. I think characters, or sometimes even no matter what the budget is, it can be really low or really high. They can be the only reasons why we love a show or a film so much. So I do work a lot with actors, and also as an actor myself. Acting is the only thing we can't edit in post, you know. We can cut it, but that's the only thing you can do. So it's really something that's really, really important. And I care a lot about the acting also because I like to do films about artists who struggle with their roles in the world. And so this comes with a lot of authenticity and questioning almost our own personal development. So the way I work with actors and also as an actor myself is a lot of rehearsing when we can, so that we really know, for instance, for the Golden Age, we had rehearsed all the scenes. So when we are on set, we actually know what's the frame, what can we do when we move, you know, what can't we do? And this is a very exciting process because it means that when you're actually filming, you really feel the moment. And I'm this kind of director who really loves to do only a few takes, because first, I think doing a lot of takes really tires the whole cast and crew. So I, as a director, I always coming very prepared with my team, so that when we film, it's like everyone knows exactly what he or she is doing and everything comes together. So actually, I'm very blessed because of that. Like, it's like we had rehearsed for weeks, and when we arrived on the locations with the cast, we will love the location so much as we were filming in all these amazing locations. Notre Dame Cathedral, for those who don't know the Golden Age, we filmed in 35 exceptional locations across the French Riviera, Paris and Los Angeles. So it's like we wanted to rehearse again because like it's such a wonderful universe. So everything is discussed before, and when we film, it really feels like it's true because everything comes together. So it's something very, very, very magical, both as a director and actor. Because even if a film is set in the 60s, and most of us are a little too young to have lived the 60s, we actually feel like we've lived it through the film. So it's a very special connection, and it's a very special feeling to actually feel it alive through a character and through the film.
Oh, wow. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Very prepared. So a lot of it is in the rehearsal and the preparation and the lead up, so things run smoothly on the day. Yeah.
And exactly. And also I think it comes a lot with the cooperation with the crew. Like, for instance, you can rehearse by yourself, you know, like even myself as an actor, I can rehearse by myself. I really enjoy it when sometimes we can rehearse with everyone, because there are things you don't decide, like the frame. And these are things you need to check with the rest of the crew, or we would also try when we can to rehearse with the clothes on or with the props, so that we really, when we come on set, it's like, because there are all kinds of things in terms of acting that are really important to know. For instance, if you stand up but the DP or the camera guy doesn't know about that, it can be like, oh, okay, we need to do it again. And all this actually slows down production. Whereas when you know, and everyone, and I think this is also when you don't just save time. This is when something magical happens. And I'm really looking for this moment as a director, and I'm sure all actors are looking for this moment where it's like everything come together. And this is when the audience, when they see you on the big screen, they can feel something is happening.
Wow, that's a great answer. Thank you for that. Ali, I want to ask you a question, and I want to stick with the topic of acting for a second here. I had a phone call with an actor one time, and he's attending acting classes. This was a very recent phone call, and this question is actually derived from that phone call that I had with him. He said that one of the main things that he struggles with is during one scene, he struggles with a stark switch of emotion. And that could be, for example, happy to sad, or excitement to deep sadness, or whatever it is, these two different emotions that are very far apart in their emotional reach. And he said he struggled to find the believability in those switches of emotions within one scene. So it had to be done right there. And I gave an answer, and there was something in my mind thinking, I don't know, because I've had some scenes like that before, and it almost became quite inexplicable to me. So I wasn't really happy with the answer I gave, because for me, it was more of a feeling than something I felt like I could vocalize. So I'm wondering what your answer to that would be. And I'm also wondering if you have any of those stark switches of emotion in your upcoming feature film script, and how you plan to evoke that switch of emotion on set from your actor?
That's a really good question, because I think like those stark switches of emotion. I'm very fond on psychology, as you probably know, but to the rest of you guys, I'm when I was younger, I was like I was always trying to make myself more confident and stuff, because I was very shy and I wanted to be better with girls, so I wanted to make myself more confident. So it led to me psychoanalyzing myself. So like, just looking at psychology for a second, I think those stark switches in emotion in everyday life, even though as artists we are we are very emotional creatures,
Yes,
they're still quite rare. Especially like, for example, one that's really rare, for example, is extreme darkness, extreme negative emotion to happiness, to euphoria. And that's a really good question, because it's like, how do you find the believability in that when it's not something that we're used to feeling all the time? And I think for me, I think it really goes to, like, you have to really look at the core reason of why someone is feeling each of those emotions. And for me it's like, a lot of the time, when two of the most important parts of someone's life in terms of the deepest values kind of clash. So I think it's like, for example, if someone inside of them strives for this fulfillment and this loose energy and this lightness, but at the same time they're such a guilt-ridden person, it's at that point where those two psychological traits meet in a triggering everyday situation that happens. And I think it's for the actor, I think there's a mix of that, but also being very present in the moment, because you can't fake that. You cannot fake that, you know? If, for example, you're really like logically trying to tap into that, it's going to be hard. So you have to let it flow, and you have to connect to some of those times where you've had each of those complete extreme 10 scale of each of those kind of very separate feelings that come from a very separate place of your psyche, and keep them both in the mixer, and then let them flow into each other rather than forcing them. But they both need to be there, you know? That's what I'd say. That's a tough question, actually. That got me thinking. That got me on my toes.
You were like, I'm just here for a cup of tea, mate. What are you asking me questions for? I don't know if you, to what extent you can talk about this, but the second part of the question was, you can swerve it if you want to, but the second part of the question was, do you have any moments in your upcoming feature film script where a character has a stark change of emotion, and how you plan to evoke that feeling out of your actor?
Yeah, so it's actually funny, because it's similar to the example I just gave in terms of guilt-ridden and fulfillment. So I think this is easier than the negative to positive. I think that's always harder. And I have had the negative to positive, when you have a huge catharsis and you cry your eyes out, and then there's just that moment, you know? Yeah. But for this, I think there is a moment where he's on top of the world. The character is on top of the world, and he finds himself in a situation which is so awful that he doesn't want to lose that on top of the world feeling, but at the same time he completely crumbles from within, because this goes against everything he stands for. So he's put in a situation where he's kind of put into this stream of consciousness where he's so incredulous he can't process his emotions, and his face just completely drops, like it completely melts away. And for him, though, it's that clash of those two complete opposites coming into one moment.
Wow, I felt like I was watching a movie there. Wow, that is fantastic, amazing.
Great.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for that, Ali. Grant, I want to come to you next. Obviously, you're a director, but you're also a writer. And I was watching a video of, I'm sure we're all familiar with Christopher Nolan, and I was watching a video, an interview of his, where he was talking about how when he's writing, he only has his writing hat on. He doesn't have his director's hat on. So when he's writing and he's thinking about all these crazy concepts, Inception, Interstellar, all these crazy things that almost seem somewhat impossible, when he's writing that, he doesn't have his director's hat on. So he's not necessarily thinking, well, how am I going to do this? Or what process is going to be put in place for this to be possible? It's just about the story when he's writing, because as we all know, he pretty much directs all his projects, right? All his written scripts. So I'm wondering if the same rings true for you. You know, when you're writing, is it just about the story, or are you sort of or when you're writing, is it like, no, I need to also know how I'm going to direct this scene as well? Or is it purely about the story for you when you're writing? And then you sort of worry about how you're going to do it once the script is done? That
is a very good question. I think because of the nature of the director I am and the sort of budgets that I'm working with, I suppose I'm always writing from a position of what I'm able to physically achieve. So that is the real sort of thing that's, constricts the writing approach. But I suppose, yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think I'm all encompassing in the way I do things, and where I've been so involved in so many different areas in my projects in the past, I do write with all of those thoughts going on the whole time, like what we can achieve, what's practical, where can we do this. But yeah, I think a lot of producers have encouraged me to step back from that and just, focusing on the story is clearly the most important thing, because you could run into this grey area where, you're writing for what you're able to do, and the story's weaker as a result of it. And I think all our jobs as directors are just completely, it's so much easier to work from a position where the story is in a very strong position from the start. I don't know. I hope that answers it in some way.
Yeah. Do you think that it's almost dangerous for people to do that though? Because it might, I don't know, could you say it might limit creativity if we're writing from if we're writing from only writers, thinking about it with our director's hat on as well? Do you think it limits creativity?
On the one hand, you can, because, I don't think, for example, with your example of Christopher Nolan, like if he'd written from what was achievable, maybe he wouldn't have created those projects that are seemingly look so unachievable from the outset. But also, I really sort of personally relish the projects that have been written with those sort of restrictions in place from the beginning. Like if you think about projects like, I don't know, like Reservoir Dogs from Tarantino, which is just in one room effectively, I mean, it does go in a few other places, but it's basically in a warehouse. And I suppose because of my history as a director, which has just always been about what I can pull off, I think for me personally, I would like to write with that restriction of what is achievable, and then once I've got to a position of power, I suppose, that I can move on to that next level. I mean, it could restrict you. For example, in my latest short film, Ecstasy, there's like this whole bit with a car happening in it, and I think in a dream world I would have loved like a car chase and a camera mounted on the bonnet and all that sort of stuff. So I wrote what I wanted it to be like, and then I had to, bring it back to reality when chatting to the producer, which I'm sure anyone here who's a writer director has been forced to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Kaine, I want to come to you now. I want to talk a little bit about originality, because as we all know, the creative decisions, the creative process is really with the director. And in the lead up to this, I've spoken to a lot of directors, and they've sort of filled me in on their sort of certain processes when it leads up to a film, while they're shooting a film, while they're in the editing stages and they're overseeing everything. And when it comes to creating a project, I've seen that when I'm speaking to these directors, it seems like everything is split down the middle. So some of them are very reluctant to even think about where can I take inspiration from, whether that be other films, or should we do a frame like, for example, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or take something from Joker, or take something from The Irishman. And then the other side is I really want to stay away from everything, and I really want to make everything as original as possible, whereas other people are more like, okay, well, let's take this, let's take that, we'll do it in a different way. I'm wondering to what extent originality means something to you. Do you see it as copying or plagiarism? Does that affect you in any way? If you were to do you actively seek inspiration from elsewhere, or do you feel like it all has to come straight from here? And even though subconsciously we are all sort of inspired by other things that we've seen throughout our film history. But yeah, I'm wondering what's your take on the originality of your process?
I think true originality with it, as far as narrative is concerned, is impossible, because as they say, there's 7 stories and it's all been done in one way or another. Where I think originality comes from is your unique view of how you see the world. So you and I could have the exact same script, or any of these directors on the screen could have the exact same script, and you'd get 5 very different films. I think you have to use inspiration from other films, not just to communicate your vision, but there are people who are better than you that have done it before. So the thing is, like, if I was to take something from X director and something from Y director, if I use that as an inspiration and filter that through my brain, it's now unique, right? It's not, I've not copied either of these 2 people, unless of course you're doing like a direct recreation. So I think it's important though to try and flip the script whenever you can. You know, in the case of like Get Out, it's great that we have a black lead that's being, you know, where the white characters are the ones causing all the problems, and you've got black characters acting like white people rather than, you know, white people acting like black people, which is something that we see a lot in movies. And I think it's important to flip that script wherever possible. In the short I just finished, it was a black lead and a white girl. So it was a romance between a black man and a white woman. And it was a period piece as well that takes place during just before World War II. And so, yes, an interracial love story has been done before, but I was exploring it through the eyes of the taboo of what that would have meant, you know, nearly 100 years ago. So I think, yeah, just take inspiration from wherever you can and whatever speaks to you as a filmmaker, and then your unique view of the world will hopefully put your stamp on it.
Was there any huge influence for your most recent film?
Yeah, there was quite a few actually. Probably not a good time to mention it, but Gone with the Wind was one of them. Not narratively speaking, but that the 2 big things I wanted to take away from that film was, number one, that like very exaggerated view of what love used to be like. Do you remember, like, back in the day, in the golden age of Hollywood, people would just fall in love it like that, which is why we all have like mummy and daddy issues and wonder why our relationships don't work out like they do in the movies. That's exactly what I wanted to throw back to and recapture in film. So that was one thing I took from there, and a little bit of the acting style as well. Again, like, you had this sort of interesting acting style whereas now you'd have a slower build, then the man would just like grab the woman, and it would just be like this magical moment that never would happen in real life, but it makes you feel great.
Somehow they pull it off. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a really
good point. Yeah,
that was something I was trying to do. So Gone with the Wind for those reasons. I would say, what else? God, it's been like 8 months since pre-production. So
are you saying that you sort of up the theatrics in your latest film? It's more sort of extroverted?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no dialogue in the film at all. So trying to show this connection, and they don't get to meet until about halfway through the movie either. So it's all done from a distance, like from looks. So hopefully that, combined with the music and everything that else is going on, puts the idea across. But yeah, you do have to kind of be more expressive with those styles of filmmaking. Even from the poster, you can tell it's got that like very old school, exaggerated feeling to it. So as long as it's intentional, I think you can get away with stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting, actually. I haven't heard anyone do that. That's really interesting. I'm really looking forward to that, actually. Thank you, Kaine. Jenna, I want to swivel it back round to you now. You've been waiting so patiently. I know you're itching for a question, aren't you? Jenna, my question to you is regarding when is it that you have the right script in front of you, whether that be your own script, whether it be someone else's script that's landed in front of you. But the main topic that I want to cover here is, how important is the bankability or the commercial value of a script when considering whether or not this is a project that you'll undertake, you'll actually direct and put your weight behind? Because I just want to talk about quickly, I saw an interview with Martin Scorsese where he was talking, I mean, we all know the film The Irishman, and it's probably well documented. The budget for that film was $160 $60 million. And when I remember watching Martin Scorsese, and he was talking about how he really didn't care about the budget. You know, he upped the budget from like 100 to 160 to do the de-aging. And what I really admired about what Scorsese said was, he said it didn't matter about the money because it was what comes from in the heart. He said the story was in the heart, and it wasn't about the commercial value of the picture. It wasn't how much money it's going to make. It was a story that he felt he needed to tell it. And I really admired that. And I feel like there's might be a lack of that in today's film. I don't know. But I'm wondering to what degree that rings true with you. You know, does the bankability of maybe the actors or the topic or the subject matter come into fact when you have a script in front of you and you're making that decision as to whether or not to direct it?
Well, I think bankability is definitely a separate topic. To know if you have a good script, I would say, well, obviously there are all kind of things you can do, like looking if at page number blah 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 something happens, but really I think I would say the first good sign is if you start reading it and can't stop until the end, until you've read it through the end. I think that's a very good feeling. If you could picture it in your head, it's also a really good feeling. Like if when you read it, you actually can feel the characters, you understand what they want, you understand where they are, you can kind of see the movie already. It's a very good sign. If you're kind of struggling to kind of see what's going on, and it's not a very good sign. Bankability is something really different. I think it's something that's more maybe that can be also attached to a lot of other parameters like genre and cast, and obviously some bits of the script can make it more bankable, but I think it's a different subject. Definitely a good script is really important for any movie you do ever. It's supposed to be a movie that's very art house or bankable, doesn't really matter. We should already, right? We know that without a good script that there's just no way to make a good film. But I would say it's a question no one really knows how to answer. What we know though is that there are some parameters very important. So I would say definitely how much you love the characters already, how well organized and clear it is in your head. And obviously then I think the script is also a script that matches what you want to do, your team, depends on how you're getting attached to the project. But if you're getting attached to the project, as you mentioned, as a director, then you have to think, am I the best director for this project? Like if I direct a film, I want to make sure when I read the script first that I love the script and I have a special connection, and also I'm the best director for it. You know, because if I don't feel I could be the best director for it, then I wouldn't feel that it's a script for me. You know, like what I really love doing is our films which are about artists who struggle with their roles in the world, like something that's really specific. And I think this is how we feel, because I remember at the beginning of the show you mentioned what is it to be a director, like how much involved you are. And to me, a director is extremely involved. It's someone who briefs the projects, who helps everyone to give their very best, whether you're an actor, whether you're a writer, head of department, you just really carry the project from beginning to end until its success. And for this, you need to make sure you're the best at this project. You need to make sure that when you read the script, you know you're gonna bring a very special vision like no one else. So I think that's really important.
Wow, amazing answer. I just want to pick up on one thing you said that I was really interested in. When you've got that script and you're making what is part of the decision process when you're thinking, well, is this the right project for me as a director? Am I the right director for this? Even if you like the script, what comes into play when you're thinking whether or not I'm the right director for this?
So if you like the script, I think, and you have a really good feeling about it, you read it, you can't stop until the end, it really makes you breathless, it's really amazing. I think the first thing you need to think about is, for which audience is this script made? And is this audience the audience I want to talk to? Because it's like, really, we're making films for audiences. So we all have like a special connection with our audience, and all the directors here will feel the same. It's something really important. Like, we make our films for them. And so when you read the script, if you really love the script, you must talk with writer and producer. If someone is already attached, really see for which type of audiences this script is made, and make sure that this audience is the audience you want to talk to, the audience you want to really speak to. I think that's something really important. And then just maybe from a more personal point of view, think about your career and what's your next goal in the coming 2 months, 2 years, 10 years, and see if this film really is the right film for you. Because as we mentioned before, it's like when, as a director, when you're attached to a film, you really follow it until its completion. It could take a few months. Usually it takes years. Like can take years and years. Who knows? It really depends on the project. So it's something you want to give your whole heart of. So it's gonna become almost a piece of your life, really, of your whole career. So
Yeah.
you really need to make sure, even also in the long term, it's something that you want to do, and it's something you're gonna be able to give the best until its completion and until its success.
Some great answers today. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really amazing. From all of you, you guys are incredible. I've got a great bunch here, man. Okay, Ali, I want to come to you now. And as I was thinking about questions for this Zoom call, I was really thinking, well, what should I ask? And then I would say this question is definitely a personal one for me, because it's really what I think I am one of the most things I'm fascinated with about directors and how they operate on set and offset. And it's regarding the tone of a film. So my question really is, what I'm fascinated with is how directors not only set but maintain a certain tone throughout a film with so many different elements in the film. Like, for example, if you look at Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, he goes through emotional highs, emotional lows. There's these dramatic moments, there's the subtle moments, and even in other films, you know, there's so many different elements of a film. Whereas you can still come out of that film and you can still just say one thing. Like, for example, with Joker, I think we'll all agree that was a dark film. You know, you know, if you look at a girl, the girl with the dragon tattoo, we can come out of that and say that was a very mysterious film. You know, or The Irishman, very subtle, very below the surface film. You know, there's certain tones that we all pick up on, and I think what really fascinates me is how directors maintain that tone throughout the entire film over the course of over 2 hours in some cases, with The Irishman 3.5 hours. You know, and that really fascinates me, and I'm wondering what process, practically and psychologically needs to be put in place to not only set but maintain the tone of a film throughout the entire duration.
All right, some big questions coming my way.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
These have all been really good questions, to be fair, and the answers so far have just been so interesting to hear you all. I'm just trying to remember which I think it was you, Kaine, that mentioned. It might have been you, Grant, because I've just been in a stream of consciousness, enjoying everything. But I remember you mentioned about having your own worldview. One of you guys mentioned about having like your own worldview and how that affects things. And I think the tone, like you said, Jenna, I think for me the tone is like something that you connect to personally, something that you find personally, and essentially something that's within you that you allow to spread over the whole story. And obviously it's something within you that connects to the story, but it's something you allow to spread to all departments. So I think with our last short film, it was very simple. Me and you sat down at a table because you wrote our last short film. This guy's is a mysterious writer, not just an actor. He's keeping it on the low. But you wrote this film, and for that, the tone was this feeling of fear because of where that film had come from your life. For me, it's my personal way of doing things is like, for me, it's always a physical feeling, because I do a lot of meditation, which focuses on the physical feelings in the body rather than like emotions or like thoughts. It just pinpoints a feeling that you can attach to emotions. So for me, it's always about evoking that those specific physical feelings in the audience. Before it was very melodramatic, so I'm like, I'm gonna make them cry. I'm just gonna make them cry with nothing else to it. But now there's more elements to it. But I think there's always one core, for me, one core physical sensation, which is the binding factor. And like on my upcoming feature film that I've written, there's lots of different journeys of emotions and physical sensations I want to take the audience on. The reason for all of it, there's a reason for all of it. There's a reason for every single feeling, and it's all for this one feeling for me. And it's all for this one feeling, which is this feeling of being completely comfortable in your own skin. And it doesn't matter for me what genre it is. It doesn't matter like smiling at me like that.
Yeah.
You're making me,
You got there. You got there. I was like,
no,
wow,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
great.
It doesn't matter exactly all the emotions that it goes through. That's very important, but it's about that core element, never losing touch with that, and making sure that you inspire a team of people that are always connecting to that and always passionate about that, but also always putting that into the different elements of the vision. So when ideas come in and you're collaborating, it connects back to that original kind of, for me, that physical sensation, which is the underlying reason for everything in the film, is why everything goes the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you expect that? How much of the tone of a film is the director's interpretation? Do you expect there to be an element of degree of tone from the script, or does it not matter? You could even just switch that and go a completely different direction because it's your interpretation. Do you look for tone in the script, or is that something you just say, nope, I'm going to evoke that myself?
This is a tricky one because we're talking about your script now, the one that you wrote. So I think
in general,
I think for me, if I'm going to be honest, like, obviously there's elements of the script I really like and I connect to, if it's not my script, we're saying, but for me, I have to kind of take that and be very honest and attach to it completely in my own way. Because if I'm like, okay, the writer's vision, I need to make sure that I satisfy the writer's vision and satisfy my vision, then it just gets messy. You don't have a singular place to go to or something you can connect back to because you're fulfilling two original visions. But for me, you have to make the writer's vision your own. So connect to the writer's vision in your own way. That's how I've done it anyway. I'm sure people have different approaches, but for me, I think you really have to, in a way, get selfish about how you see it. And that might come through the way the writers inspired you, but you have to really connect to it and make sure that connection is true and thorough and not just a good idea, you know. That's my take on it.
Oh man, amazing. Grant, I want to come to you now. And as I was taking a look at your Instagram and searching and reviewing some of your work, I noticed that it was documented on your funding page, on your Instagram as well documenting that you had a lot of sort of issues on set when you actually filmed, when you were filming for your project, didn't you? You had a lot of, you had a lot.
I felt like the world threw itself against my film, and it just, the icing on the cake was the pandemic. Yeah.
Ron, I really want to ask you about the temperament of a director, because what I've noticed from being on set, the director has a massive effect on the general emotions and general feelings of the set. You know, the director has almost a domino or knock-on effect of how everyone is feeling. So if the director's quite agitated, then it seems like everyone is a bit more hurried and agitated. If the director's calm and relaxed, then everyone's making cups of teas and coffees. You know. So, yeah, I want to know your take on that. You know, how important as a director is it to maintain a cool head even in the face of adversity? Because I mentioned this because I know you went through such a not a great time when you were filming. I'll leave it to you to say, but you had quite an experience on set. But how important is it to keep that cool head and sort of prevent that knock-on effect of everyone else? How do you deal with that pressure on set?
Well, to give you context of what I faced on that short film, which I think is important, is basically the lighting van arrived 4 hours late to the shoot because it got a flat tire and there was crazy traffic. And then by the time it arrived, it was dark. So it was going to take the lighting team double as long to set up the lights in this car park. And we were just so behind from the start. I think really there was no other emotion I could be other than stressed, you know. And I was very stressed because you just want to get going, and a lot, you know, you have to be patient with waiting, don't you? But yeah, the point was reached, obviously, and then once it all gets set up, this biblical rain came. So yeah, but I think
biblical rain.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. But
40 days and 40 nights.
But you know, ultimately, people are looking to you, right? And the emotion you give off is very important, and you don't always need to be patient, you know. But I suppose from the get-go, from before the filming, you want to set a good tone with your cast and your crew so they know the vibe. There are certain things I like to put in place that I can rely upon as tools to improve morale, let's say, and so you're always looking to get to those moments. Mostly it rolls around food, but
Yeah.
but in terms of dealing with that sort of pressure, the monumental pressure that I faced, I was stressed at the start, and then I had to be jovial and quite friendly with everyone to keep the spirits high. But then if you do want, actually, there's a really interesting YouTube video. This YouTuber, and it was called Dicks. It's about like, do you have to be a dick? And it was basically figuring out all directors and why they're massive like pricks on set, basically, and if that's a requirement, and this guy interviews all these different directors and figures out, because he made a film himself, and he figured out, actually, he noticed when he was a bit more irate on set, things got done quicker. But that's you're always trying to find this balance, I suppose, of being friendly and happy and keeping morale high, but also getting people to, because if you're too friendly and relaxed, then people will go slowly, and you only have a select amount of time, and you need to get the job done. But the pressure, I think, ultimately, because everyone is looking to you, you just need to check yourself every now and again and think, okay, I'm stressed that everything arrived 4 hours late. We're massively behind, but I need to not give off the feeling of stress, because I need people to still perform and do their thing. And you need to stay calm and level-headed and make it feel like that you're still going to get it done no matter what.
I'm sure that there's going to be a couple of aspiring directors that will be watching this and really interested in everything you guys are saying. So actually, Grant, I want to just pick up on something you said about putting a few things in place to keep morale high. I'm wondering if you could expand on that just a little bit. I know you talked about food, but is there other things, like a criteria that you plan in your mind and say, okay, I'm going to set this from the start to keep that morale high?
Well, obviously, I think, firstly, keeping people involved in the creative vision of the project. And I think is important for even members of the crew that probably don't have a say, like from the runners upwards. If they feel a part of it and passionate about it and have come on a journey with you, they're going to give you everything. So that's really important. But yeah, on a practical level, from my experience, food is one of the most important things on a film set. I mean, food actually might change post-pandemic, because I've read a lot of things about people not providing food on set anymore, and that'd be really interesting. But yeah, I think no matter what, if you have a good meal for people and a decent break, you're going to get the best from your crew. And it would be the one thing, if I was to talk to any aspiring director or anyone, I don't know if anyone else here agrees with this sentiment, but if lunch or dinner arrives and it's rubbish, you have a massive problem on your hands. You just do, quite frankly.
It's true.
I shot a web series. It was a 6-day shoot, and the first 2 days the food was not good, and I had to have a chat with the producers and be like, look, we need to sort this out. And then one of them got their mums to cook this like amazing meal, and the mood just changed instantly. So yeah, getting people on board with the creative vision, making them feel valued, the food, and not taking liberties. I mean, we might all face this position where you need to film a bit longer than is necessarily scheduled, and you just really need to communicate very well about that. And saying thank you. I cannot express how important it is to say thank you for everything.
Wow.
So there you go. They're my tips.
That was brilliant. To be quite frank, that was really nice to hear. Kaine, I want to come to you now, because we figured out this nice circular motion that we're going to. Yeah, Kaine, I was actually I was watching an interview. I watch a lot of interviews. I was watching an interview with Quentin Tarantino, and he was talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And he was talking. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yes. He was talking about the scene where Leo breaks down in the trailer and he's kicking everything, and they do the jump cuts and he's throwing things and and he was talking about how that scene wasn't scripted. that scene wasn't in there. He said that Leonardo wanted to mess up his line, and he wanted to have a breakdown because of it. He felt like that was the natural character progression of where it was going. And Quentin, I think he was quite reluctant at first, but he said, okay, let's try it. They did it, and they kept it instantaneously because he said, well, that's what it's going to be. And from what I've seen of past interviews with Tarantino, he wasn't someone that was necessarily willing to deviate away from the script. So I found that quite interesting. So my question to you is, how willing are you to deviate away from the script during filming? Or is it sort of, by any means necessary, we must stick to the script and find that magic by sticking to the script and doing what the script says? For example, how willing are you to take a recommendation from an actor of feeling like, okay, let's try it this way, or let's change this line or that line, or does the magic have to be found from the script? Are you quite conservative in that way, or more liberal in the sense of easing it out and working with people?
No, I think you have to be ready to adapt. Going back to what Jenna said a while ago, I try to do a lot of that stuff in pre-production and rehearsals as possible. If you can get like 90% of the way there in rehearsals, then the only adaptations you really need to make on set are dependent on the location, the weather, having the lights in, because I know, having the lighting and the mood, like these sorts of things really get an actor in the zone, and you might realize that something that you'd rehearsed in pre-production might need a bit of tweaking. But like even with stuff like that, I knew I wanted rain in one of those scenes, so I was just playing rain sounds on my phone during rehearsals. But it's very different, like actually being there in that moment. But no, you have to be ready to adapt. And it's not just what actors put forward, but it's, your DP, your production designer. And I definitely have experienced a lot of that. But at the same time, when I was a very new director, I was too far that way, where I was like, if I'm not taking these ideas on, I'm not a collaborator. And then I ended up making a ton of films that I wasn't happy with, that would maybe get me good marks with my teachers in film school, but I wasn't fulfilled with at all. So I've like been slowly shifting back the opposite way again, where I'm like, I need to just trust in my ideas. And if, as a director, you might have heard this phrase a million times, but it's, you are the protector of the film. And if someone comes to you with an idea, it's not, who's right, who's wrong. It's, is this going to enhance the story? Yes or no? So I don't even think it's necessarily a script thing at that point. It's just adapting in the moment, I think.
Mm-hmm. And how do you I've spoken to a couple of directors, and some of them, they almost feel intimidated to give direction. Almost, they say that it's not really within their character. They have it all in their mind, but they can't vocalize it. I'm wondering what your advice to that would be. For example, how would you communicate to an actor that something isn't working and vocalize that change that you need them to make?
I think the magic words, let's try. They are the saving grace of anything, like, because you can use those words and it has no connotations to whether or not you liked or disliked what they just did. And the thing is, you got to remember, like, actors are really making themselves vulnerable in front of a lot of people for you. So whatever they're doing, if it's not right, it doesn't mean it's not good. So you start with the positive. You say, hey, this is what you did great, but let's try this. Mm-hmm. That would be my best advice. I think as well, it's important to not look at it as a director as the person that tells people what to do. It's not, you're not a mother. Like, you're not this parental figure that's telling off children. You are someone to filter through everyone else, to kind of be the filter for everyone else's ideas, so that it all kind of unifies.
If you could sum up the role of a director on set in one sentence, what would it be?
One sentence. You're the guy who protects the story and brings together everyone's ideas, I guess.
Amazing. Yeah. Great answers. Oh my gosh, you guys are just amazing. Honestly, these are some great answers. Okay, I have one final question regarding this whole film thing. Then we're sort of going to feed it out. We're going to go into our last act, if you will. And it's one question, and it's one question for all of you. So, Kaine, you're going to have a long time to think about this, so no pressure. It's a very simple question, actually. The question is, how, if at all, would you like to see film develop or change in the next 25 years, 25, 30 years? And that could be whether that's something you feel like you're going to go out there and implement, or something you would feel like you'd like film to naturally go that way, the natural process. But yeah, that's the question. How would you like film to develop or change in the next 25 to 30 years? Jenna?
Yeah, probably, I mean, probably a lot changed, but if I had two priorities, I would definitely say one, more diversity, and second, more eco-friendly. In the making of the film, it should be made more eco-friendly. These are actually the two priorities we also have for the Paris International Film Festival. And for MIPCOM, MIPTV, Cannes series, we also have some diversity awards. It's something that's really important. And obviously we could think of many things, but I would say definitely the two priorities would be those.
Amazing, amazing. Ali, can I come to you now?
Yeah. So for me, I think it's a weird one, because I think the live experience for me is a big part of why I do what I do. So even though I know things are going to take that digital route, I think I'd like to see that instead of it just going one way, it kind of broadening on both sides. So the like films and cinemas and screenings and festivals to become more and more communal, and to become more of a hot topic for people that really want to like go for a week to a festival and just, you know, completely immerse themselves and emanate with the films, you know, and just really connect to it all in like a proper pandemonium sense of the word. And then obviously it's going to happen naturally with the digital world. But the other thing that I'd say is I'd really love it if films continue to increase in vibration in terms of like high concept philosophical films, and not that they're like necessarily an obvious message, but that us as filmmakers becoming more maybe more zen, more conscious, all these things, and more connected to our emotions, able to push narratives that are going to actually affect audiences when they leave the cinema, as well as when they're in the cinema, viscerally affect them. But yeah, I think that high level of consciousness into the films is going to be really cool to see.
Amazing, absolutely. Grant, can I come to you now?
Yeah, well, what great answers, by the way.
I know, amazing answers so far. No pressure.
So I can only add to those things, because more inclusivity, more eco-friendly, you know, they're very important to me. I mean, broadly, I just say we need to see stories that we haven't seen before. And I think that sort of addresses a lot of those points, I hope, because we have seen a lot of, let's say, white guy-led action films, let's say, and, you know, and they keep getting made. And I just think, like, the people should take more risks and be willing to make things that haven't been made before, you know. And personally, from a personal level, you know, I grew up with my dad. He's disabled. He's got Parkinson's disease, and I've grown up with that my whole life. And I think, from my perspective, as someone who's acted as a carer and has someone in my life who's disabled, I'd like to see more stories through that lens that aren't negative, downbeat, and miserable. So that's really my personal mission, is to make more upbeat, you know, action comedy type friends in that genre, because, you know, life's miserable enough, and I don't want to see that on the cinema. Yeah.
Oh man, amazing.
I got touchable. Yeah.
Really nice. Really nice. Thank you for that, Grant. Kaine?
How am I supposed to follow that?
You can't.
You followed it every time really well, so.
And
you know what? I agree totally with Grant and Jenna about the diversity thing. However, I just want to throw a slightly contrasted view on that on the table, which is I don't want to see political correctness affect the film industry too much. In the case of, like, you know, a film like Black Panther winning best picture, personally probably didn't deserve it, in my opinion. A lot of my films now are very much, you know, like I said, my short is black male, white female led. My feature film is also black female led. So it's not about that. I just think that a few examples. Firstly, we shouldn't be censoring stuff that was made however long ago, because as creators and as artists, we create culture. That's what we do. And it's a very interesting thing to look back and see where we were all at as a society at each in each decade. But also, I think I would like to see, in the independent world at least, to help with diversity, I would like to see anonymity. I don't think directors and producers' names should be on there. I don't think they should ask questions about your gender or your ethnicity. I think this is the fairest way to give everyone the best opportunity, purely based on your art and your talent as a filmmaker.
Guys, I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for those amazing, beautiful answers. And I would like to echo pretty much everything you guys said. Diversity is a big one for me as well. I would love to live in a world where, you know, ethnicity put down as any is not a formality. Because, you know, sometimes that's just put there as less, you know, and I want to echo exactly what Kaine said about that political correctness. So that is a huge one. Also, I would, you know, sticking along the lines with independent filmmakers, I think there's a lot of young filmmakers that are up and coming now that really struggle with information on how to get investment and how to and the production side of things and where that money exactly comes from, and they're stuck down this one route of funding, which is crowdfunding. I would love for there to be more information out there, more education on where young filmmakers can specifically get investment from and how they actually need to do that. I think that would be so beneficial, because there is investment out there. I haven't been educated enough myself to even speak on it, but there is investment out there that can be got from different companies, from different people. And I would love that education to be out there, and for it to not be this big mystique of, oh, you have to go through all these channels. I'd love at least the education of how to get there. You know, I think that would really be beneficial. I think it would, a lot more films would get made. And I also really hope that we'll see a lot of stories get taken up for the sake of the story and not necessarily the commercial value, because a lot of the times the commercial value is taken into account and that kicks down the story. And that's why I admired when Martin Scorsese spoke about The Irishman and talked about how it came from inside his heart and it wasn't about how much money it made. So yeah, absolutely. You guys have really just, thank you so much for that. We are gonna, and now I've just got a little fun thing to do with you guys, and then we're gonna talk about, what you guys, anything you guys want to say to the audience, okay? But just before we get to that, I have one question for all you guys. And Ali, you can answer this if you want to. Ali's answered this question before on this same show. Every time someone comes on the cup, every time someone comes on the Cup of Tea show, I ask this question. No one escapes it. And Ali, I'm gonna give you permission. You can answer this if you want to. So you can change your answer. So, and now the greatest thing about this is you're all storytellers, so you can picture things in your mind. So I need you to follow this story. Okay, you open your eyes and you're on a desert island, okay? A desert island, all individually. You're not by yourself. You're by yourselves, you're not together, okay? And you're on a desert island, palm trees. I don't even know if that's a thing on desert islands, but, and the waves are washing in and you're walking down and you're in like really messy shorts, you know, you've got a top on, it's got holes in it. Think about Castaway, Tom Hanks, and you're walking down this stretch of the island where the ocean is hitting the sand, and it's that awkward wet segment. Okay, you're walking down there and your feet are sort of, you know, you're grudging through, you know, you're plodding through, and you're walking, and then suddenly you hit your foot on something and you go, ah, you know, and it's the pinky toe, you know, it's always the pinky toe. And then you think, what is that? And then you pick it up and it's a lamp, okay? It's a lamp, just like from Aladdin, okay? So naturally, because we've all seen Aladdin, I'm sure, you rub the lamp and then poof, a genie appears out of the lamp. And his name is Simon Watford, because that's just the conclusion that I've come to. His name is Simon Watford. And the genie says to you, okay, now really picture it. The genie says to you, man, it's been a long 10,000 years in that lamp. but he's happy to be free, but he's also sad that he's been locked up for 10,000 years. So he's got a mix of emotions. He's like what we talked about in the beginning. He's got stark emotion. One, he's happy he's out. Two, he's sad he was locked up. Okay, everyone following so far?
Yep.
Okay, Jenna, you okay?
Yeah. I like really.
So the genie now says to you, I'm in a bad mood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal your voice away from you. Okay. So he's going to literally, he's going to take your voice box and you can never, ever, ever speak again. Okay. But he says, because you've let him out, he's going to grant you one final wish and he's going to make that wish for you. The wish is, what you can do is the next sentence or whatever you want to say, the next thing you say is going to be echoed across the entire world. Everyone's going to hear it on the planet. It's going to be translated into every language. Everyone's going to hear it on planet Earth. The next words that come out of your mouth is going to be echoed across the entire world. But it's the last thing you say before he takes your voice away from you. So my question to all of you is, what do you say in that moment to the entire world? Kaine, I'm going to come to you first because you've been getting away with it.
Love each other. That's it.
Sorry?
Like, love each other.
Oh,
That's
love
it.
each other. Oh my gosh. Love each other.
I'm hoping that with lockdown at the moment, people not being able to like hug and chat and hang out with each other, I'm hoping people are going to remember that and appreciate each other's company a bit more. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Keep it simple. Love each other. It has to be said. Grant, I'll come to you next.
Do you know, I have this wall of quotes at my desk, and I'm just trying to think of something about that. I think for me, it's like, have faith that 99.9% of humanity is good. Yeah, I'll leave it as that.
That's quite dark, actually. No, that's good. That's good. Jenna, I'll come to you next.
Together, let's bring change for a more diverse and eco-friendly world.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Ali, I don't know if you want to answer this. It's optional.
I really like Grant's one, by the way. That actually really hit me. I think that's something I struggle with. But yeah, no, last time I said that in 6 months from now, you'll feel completely different to how you felt then. But it's been 6 months since we last did this. So
how do you feel now?
for me, what really, okay. Everything you need is already right here.
Wow. That is powerful. That's it? Very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. Grant, Jenna, Kaine, Ali, amazing answers. Wow. Okay. I feel quite emotional. This has gone so well. So guys, I really want to give you all the plate now, the stage now, the stage now to really talk about what you guys have going on now. And if you want to call to collaborate, if there's any certain people you're looking for, producers, actors, whatever it is, because I am going to put this out on my Instagram and take just this segment as well and promote you all individually what you want, because I have a lot of people on Instagram and YouTube that really look to connect. So yeah, I want to give the floor to you guys now and talk about what you have coming up and what you want to call to action for, or whatever, if you want to invite people to anything, if you want to collaborate. Really, this is, it's the floor is yours, guys. Whoever wants to just go for it can talk. Whoever wants to start.
Sure. Well, we're preparing now the next edition of the Paris International Film Festival. It's scheduled for early February in a beautiful cinema in the heart of Paris. We have a lot of perks, obviously, a great opportunity to see your hard work on the big screen and with networking. We highlight on a diverse cinema, female-led, representing diversity in front of and behind camera, and also eco-friendly filmmaking. We also have panels all along the year. So you can follow us on social media to receive the invite. It's @Paris and Southfest on all social media.
Okay, so they can get in contact with you and then they'll get an official invite from that.
Yeah, if they reach out on social media, they can subscribe to our newsletter. They can also submit their films or just send a PM.
Okay, amazing. So they can actually apply to your festival.
Yes.
Ooh,
yes.
They're gonna love that. They're gonna love that. What? Anyone else want to say anything?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so obviously I'm knee deep in this feature film at the moment, which has been crazy. But the story is about it's all centered around this feeling of being completely comfortable in your own skin, this feeling of just feeling great right now, having everything you need right now, essentially. And it's about a boy who's not had that. He's come from a trap background, and he enters into a community in the woods that live by one rule, that no one's allowed to judge each other. So they all feel this way naturally. And it's all about that that feeling, but also about the clashes of morality within that camp in the woods. And yeah, I'm really looking at the moment to find the right producer to enter in with, because I've got people on my team, I've got different people, but that main producer that I want to go forward with. But also, we're going to be posting, like, I'm planning to post videos and stuff every day on the Instagram page for the next week. So Birdcage Movie on Instagram. Feel free to follow it, whoever you are, if you're interested in the story, if you want to collaborate, whatever, check it out, Instagram.
You also have a website that you worked really hard on, and can you talk about that website and what you, because I saw the website and I said, who designed this? Like, this is amazing. Like, how did you, it's incredible. And then you told me you had to pay for it. I was like, okay, yeah, okay.
No, it's actually it's a good friend of mine, so I did have to pay him because he's a bit of a business shark, so he's not going to do anything for free. But he's a really good guy, and it's birdcagemovie.com. He's done an amazing job with it. I'm really happy with it. I still need to put more content on there, but I really love the layout at the moment. So either the Instagram page or the website, feel free to check it out, whoever you are.
Yeah, I just want to say on top of that, I'm actually currently reading the script for Birdcage. I'm quite some way in, and it's amazing. It really is amazing, and I just really want to put this out to all actors. Get in contact with this man, because I think he's really going to do something special with this film here. Ali, is there? Do actors need to have anything to audition for this? Is there any buzzwords that they should be listening out for from you that would give them almost an edge? Like, what, anything they should be looking out for?
They don't need to have it, but they need to be willing to get very authentic with this, because it's very centered around the acting, and it's all based on that feeling, which we don't have all the time in our life. It's a beautiful, fulfilling feeling, but it's going to be a very authentic set and very authentic vibe. So there's going to be a lot of even before the acting, there's going to be a lot of emotion there. So I think actors will vibe with it if they're really interested in an authentic space, a safe space, a non-judged space. Yeah.
So can actors apply from the website, or do they need to get in contact with you on Instagram?
Right, is that what you meant? I thought we were going deeper.
No, that was right. This is my next question.
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
There's casting, some members on my team, the emails there, they can get in touch. And,
all right, amazing. Grant or Kaine, any of you want to talk about your upcoming projects?
I'll let you go first.
Thank you.
I'm used
that
to
just
I'm
means you're going to say that just means you're going to say something magnificent at the end.
No.
Who wants the last word?
After the last round, after the last round, I should learn not to follow you. But
no, I'll go. So I'm currently crowdfunding for a short film called Ecstasy, which is inspired by my father Bob, who has lived with Parkinson's disease for the last 20 years. And if you're not familiar with Parkinson's, it's a disease which affects your ability to move. So things are really difficult, like walking, turning over in bed at night, dancing. And the film is inspired by like this true life revelation where someone with Parkinson's took an ecstasy pill, and they realized 40 minutes later that they could move completely freely as if they didn't have the disease. Like, it completely unlocks them. And so my movie is about a disabled father and son who go on this crazy attempt to buy drugs so the dad can dance with his wife for her birthday one last time. And everything went wrong on the shoot. So we just need to do one more day of filming. And we're crowdfunding. We're 67% funded at the minute. And you can go to greenlit.fund/project/ecstasy.
Thank you so much, Grant. really, I messaged you before and I said, there's such a unique idea for your film, Ecstasy. And I saw the trailer that you sent to me and it was just incredible, incredible, incredible. It just had this complete, like, unique feel to it. Like, just something was, it was like, it just felt good to watch it, you know? I just got this warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Like, even though it is tackling, like, something that's quite, I guess, heartbreaking, but it just felt positive in a way. There was something about the way it was directed that was really positive, and I really enjoyed it. And please, I'm going to be putting everyone, so you can contact Grant. I'm going to be putting his email, his Instagram, so you can get in contact with him. The link is in his bio on Instagram for his crowdfunding. Please give whatever you can, because honestly, I really, it'd be such a shame if this didn't get funded, because he's got, what, 1 day left or 2 days left to shoot?
Yeah. I also need to add that the car park where we're filming is meant to be demolished in the next 2 months. So like, I just cannot stress how many problems we're going to have with continuity if that gets demolished.
Okay, so please, guys, crowdfunding. His name's Grant Taylor. Get in contact. Kaine.
Yes, I've just finished my short film Farewell Waltz, which follows the turbulent love story of an impoverished Jamaican boy and a wealthy English girl on the eve of World War II. It's sort of like a Romeo and Juliet style film in a World War II British rapper. It was inspired by a real British Black war hero who's been, for some reason, completely forgotten about. His name is Walter Tull. He was a man that rose to a ranking that was illegal at the time. Black men weren't allowed to be above white men. So it was a story that really just amazed me and touched me. Starting a government petition for him to be posthumously awarded a military cross as well. So I'm hoping the film will help towards that. We've just submitted to a bunch of award-affiliated festivals around the world, so fingers crossed. You can keep up with that. I mean, the best place is really just follow me, Kaine Levy. I've just posted about it nonstop because it's my obsession.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I do a podcast as well called Slate One Take One, where I chat about mindset and filmmaking and that kind of thing. And also on my Instagram, I just try and give as much value as I can from my experience being a director, and so far at least. So
yeah. Did you write the project Farewell Waltz?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Actually, if I may, it's a really quick, interesting story about that. I started writing it about 3 years ago, and then I wasn't happy with it. I shelved it. I came back to it 2 years later. I got with my Kenyan girlfriend, and it just gave me this like completely new perception on what it's like being in like a black-white mixed race relationship. I experienced my fair share of funny looks and racial remarks and that kind of thing. And that experience allowed me to really put my heart and soul into the writing. So
a very personal project. And what's amazing as well, I watched your trailer. Oh my gosh, guys, you got to watch the trailer. It is incredible. Yeah. I have to say, amazing performance from, I'm sorry, I don't know his name.
Dan Davids.
Such an amazing, subtle performance. It was only a minute or so that I watched the trailer for, but I could just tell there was a certain hurt beneath the eyes almost. And
that guy's going to be a star one day for sure.
Yeah, he's really, yeah.
He's
that
amazing.
Was such a fantastic performance. I'm sure you must be so happy with it as well.
Yeah, they were all amazing. I feel very blessed as a director.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Farewell Waltz is the film. Please get in contact with him, Kaine Levy. So guys, we've come to the end now. Thank you all. I cannot even stress this. Thank you all so much for being part of this. Every single one of you you've gone above and beyond to answer these questions, and it's been so insightful. Thank you, Jenna, Alistair, Grant Taylor, Kaine Levy. Please, guys, show them some love. Get in contact with them, collaborate with them, network with them. Guys, you are all fantastic and amazing, and I wish you the absolute best in the next stage of your career, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you.
Guys.